Last but not least, perhaps the most important thing we have in our stores are window displays. I've left it to the end, but this is probably the most important part of our store display, and it's probably the most underutilized and neglected part of the typical Army Navy store. I just saw something about billboards. Companies pay $15,000 a month for the average billboard. And they always make sure they fill them with the latest and most up-to-date information and graphics. And a lot of us have these huge billboard-sized windows. We have these beautiful windows in front of our store. They're passed by thousands of cars a day or 100 pedestrians a day. And we're not making sure that we update or we're really utilizing these windows as much as possible. This is the #1 way to attract people into our stores. If I can tell you anything about window displays, I can tell you this. Any investment you make in your window displays, even if you have to use professional help, will be paid for many times over. The Army Navy dealers always like to say, it's got nothing to do with the economy, it's everything to do with the weather. Everybody says that. Doesn't matter what the economy's doing, if it's cold, I'm going to do great. One of the important things is that means that once every season we have to change our windows. We have to let people know what they need to be wearing for the current season. Now that means shorts in the summer, jackets in the winter, a Halloween display in the fall, maybe camping gear in the spring, something for every season. Most contemporary clothing dealers will update their windows monthly, but we really need to do it at least once a season to keep our windows current and interesting. Now, mannequins are great anywhere in the store, but they're really great in a window display. The mannequins in this window are a little hard to see in this picture. It's not just about the photograph. It's really about the lack of a background. With the mannequins leading right into the store, it's a little bit, there's nothing to stop the light. Your eye actually goes right into the store. You can't actually fully see the mannequins. Now this store's got a great window. It's going to let a lot of light into the store, and I could certainly see they're not going to want to cut off the whole window just to do a window display. But if they took a certain amount of it and put a backing there, now the mannequins they have in the window will be really easy to see and will be really effective to see. So very important, if we're going to have window displays, we really need to have something behind them to make everything be seen. Now, this might be one of the ultimate window displays you'll ever see because there's just so much going on here. This was obviously professionally dressed, and there's some real money here, but we can take advantage of some of the concepts they have going here. This is from a store called Fast Buck Freddy's in Key West. It's on Duval Street, which is the big shopping drag in Key West, and they're pretty famous for their window displays. I took this with my cell phone, so the quality's not so great, but it's got a very distinctive theme. It's the dog days of summer, and they've incorporated all the merchandise in to do that. Also, by the way, great use of graphics as well. One of the things you can't see here is there's actually, in these displays, there were pictures of dogs. And the way I became familiar with this display was there was an article in the newspaper. And what they did is they partnered with the local animal shelter, and they had the dog days of the summer theme. They had the pictures of the dogs, and people could get information inside the store on adopting a dog. They sent a press release to the papers. I read about it in the papers, and what do? I go to the store. Now, it's hard for us to think, well, how can I relate that to my business? Well, a lot of people do Boy Scout nights. A lot of people do business with the Boy Scouts. How tough would it be to do a display with Boy Scout merchandise and then contacting some of the local troops on putting information on how to join the Boy Scouts right in the window? We can, and then, especially if you live in a small town, you put all the information like that into a press release, you send it out to the local paper, you send it out to the local weeklies, and they're going to print it. They're going to publish it. You're going to get this great publicity. The Boy Scouts will all come, and they'll come support you. You can do it. I know a lot of churches and areas might do a haunted house theme. A lot of churches do a haunted house as a fundraiser. In your Halloween window display, you put the information for the local charity group's haunted house display in there. You send that press release out. By partnering this, we can use our window displays to really help promote our business and promote the organizations. Certainly we could do something around Memorial Day with some of the local veterans organizations as well. So, there's a lot of opportunities to utilize our windows as public display images. Now, if you know that you absolutely can't maintain your window, then we really should look at alternatives. There's Army Navy stores I've seen that have had the same window display for years. The merchandise has gotten sun washed. I mean, it actually turns off more customers than it attracts. So rather than having a bad window display, another option is using graphics. And I've seen some, this is just something I found on the web, you know, this is a tire store. It's a great graphic for a tire store, you know. And even if we took images of people dressed in our clothing, of soldiers, of law enforcement personnel, and I've seen even Army Navy stores use some of it. It's great. You don't have to replace it. You know, usually they're properly coded. If they're properly coded and properly made, you can just leave this in your window. But at least now your window looks good, and it's not gonna, you know, you're not getting outdated with it. One last point on window displays is, one of the things when we set up a window display, we need to determine how are people going to see it. Are they going to see it driving by on the road in a car, or are they going to see it walking by on a sidewalk, depending on where our store is situated? Once we figure out how people are going to see it, that's how we have to set up our window. We have to set up our window, if it's going to be seen by a car 20 feet away, if there's really no walkway there, if that's the way people are going to see it, then you really have to almost stand from that vantage point and merchandise it so people can see it from that far away. If you've got small displays in there that can't be seen by the car, then they're not going to be effective. On the other hand, if it's mostly walking traffic that's going by your window, then merchandise it from a short distance for the walking traffic. So however you do it from that vantage point.